But let's go ahead and get started. My name is Chris Nelson. I am one of your program quality directors here in District 60. And more relevant in this meeting, I'm also your Zoom host and activator. So if you've got questions or are having trouble, shoot me a note in the chat and I will do my best to help you. It is an absolute delight to be here today with Shubha. And as you probably noticed when you entered the meeting, we are recording. So if you don't want to be seen, now's your cue to turn your video off. That's totally up to you. The video is going to be posted to the District 60 YouTube channel so that we can enjoy that and so that others can learn as well later on. With 13 workshops, I can tell you we had a lot of inquiries of, why can't I sign up for 3? Well, unless you can split yourself, that's going to be a little tiny bit challenging. We do have a handout and you should have received that with your email earlier this week. If you don't have that handy, this is your cue to go and have a look for that. And it is my privilege to introduce Shubha Amba today. Have you ever had a dream you wanted to pursue, but gave it up because it felt like too much effort? Have you ever considered that you may have inadvertently worked against yourself? Only about 8 to 10% of people will ever succeed in achieving their goals. They give up way too early. Why? What Shubha's about to tell you today will give you an understanding of what gets in the way of fulfilling your dreams and what you need to do to succeed. You will gain an understanding of your intrinsic power and move forward in your journey with a knowing and confidence. Shubha Amba is a psychology graduate keenly interested in the key drivers of behavior and behavior change and passionate about sharing her knowledge with her audience so as to inspire them to release their inherent greatness. Today, you will learn to master your power tool for success by gaining an understanding of 1, your intrinsic ability for success, 2, the 3 impediments to success, and 3, the 3 essential steps to ensure that you succeed. Please help me welcome distinguished Toastmaster Shubha Amba.
Thank you, Chris, for that very warm welcome. It was the perfect Saturday morning in the summer of 1998. I woke up early, full of enthusiasm and anticipation. I ran outside, and there she was, smooth, sleek, and shining in the sun. She was looking at me, as if to say, hey, I'm ready if you are. I was just mesmerized as I gazed upon the symbol of my newfound power and independence. I was the proud new owner of a brand new hedge trimmer. Instantly, I ran into the garage, plugged it in, picked it up with my right hand, and wow, it was heavy. Instinctively, my left hand went underneath it, not only to stabilize the weight, but also to put that long, smooth, shiny blade at a safe angle to transport it out to my unruly hedge. With a wicked grin, I pressed my thumb on the on button. Instantly, I let go of the on button. The blade came to a quick halt. I had just taken off a chunk of a finger of my left hand. And through the blood, all I could see was bone. Ouch! Now, if only I had read the user manual first, do you think I ever picked up a power tool again? Never. I gave up on my dream of power and independence simply because I did not know how to use that power tool, the hedge trimmer. Now, how often have you given up on your dreams? Did you consider reading the user manual first? Mother Nature has given us the perfect power tool to help us fulfill our dreams. In fact, we are using this tool all the time. But the question is, are we using it properly? To fulfill our dreams, we all need to make an effort. If we use this tool properly, our efforts feel rewarded with success. But if we don't, our efforts feel like a chore and we give up. But there is no user manual on this tool. But fortunately, cutting-edge research in neuroscience is telling us that Mother Nature's perfect power tool, the brain, is actually designed for us to succeed. But like any power tool, there are warnings to heed and instructions to follow so that we may master this power tool for success, because otherwise, much like that hedge trimmer, it will work against us and we will give up. Therefore, based on what these wonderful neuroscientists are saying, I'm going to present to you a set of 3 warnings and an associated set of 3 instructions to follow so that you may master your power tool, your brain, for success. In the session today, you are going to find out what happens inside your brain that comes in the way of your success and what you need to do to surpass those hurdles. In this workshop today, you will take away 3 key lessons. There will be 2 timeouts of 30 seconds each between the 3 lessons, between 1 and 2 and 2 and 3. This is because I'm going to share a lot of information with you, and it would help to let the lessons sink in a bit before we move on to the next one. Yes, there will be exercises and hopefully a robust Q&A, time permitting. As Chris mentioned, you do have handouts with 3 sections, each of which corresponds with 1 lesson. There will be exercises that will be either through the chat function or the group discussion format, and every exercise is going to be timed. The time cues would be either verbal or in color. So let us begin. Warning number 1, you have a weak why. To succeed, make it strong. Now, you've all likely heard that if you have a strong why, you will never give up. Well, that is true. To give you a very famous example, everyone knows Sylvester Stallone and the Rocky movies. That franchise has made $1.5 billion worldwide at the box office. He is worth $400 million right now. We picture him as this mega Hollywood superstar, right? Is that how you picture him? We don't picture him as rejected, broke, and homeless. A guy who lived in poverty to the point that he even sold his dog for $25 just so that he could eat. That's heartbreaking, selling your pet, isn't it? But then what happened? Stallone was watching a Muhammad Ali fight once and found a strong why. There was a moment in that fight when Muhammad Ali, badly beaten, bleeding, stumbled and fell. But at the last minute, he got up and he defeated the reigning champion. Stallone saw that moment as standing up to life. And in that moment, the idea of Rocky was born. From homeless to Hollywood superstar, that is the power of a strong why. You see, when we have a strong why, in other words, when we place a very high emotional value on something, we activate deep inside our brain that moves into action. So when Stallone found his strong why, he was compelled into action. He took his career into his own hands and he wrote the script for Rocky in just 3 days. But when our why is weak, the focus just fizzles and we give up. So the question is, how do you make your why strong? A discussion on why begins with a what, your pursuit, whether it's a dream, a goal, a new skill, a new job. Every pursuit requires us to make an effort, for which we need energy. Now that energy comes from your why. Now we're going to do a small exercise. I draw your attention to the handout section 1. There are 2 parts you will notice, A and B. We are going to focus only on A, where it says what and why. Please complete that on your handout. And here's an example. Just keep it brief and simple and to the point. Nothing complicated about this. So here's my example. Here's my what. I want to quit binging on junk food. Why? Because it is bad for my health. All right, so we are going to allow you 1 minute on the clock. Chris is going to communicate verbally at 30, 45, and 60 seconds. Your minute begins now.
Thirty seconds. $45 seconds. One minute.
Thank you, Chris. Now, I'm looking for a very, very, very brave volunteer who is willing to share their answers with the group here. Now, we're all learning together in this. We're all new at it. Here's your chance to be the star of that show and have your personal why turn into a strong why. And also in that process, do others a service by participating in that demonstration. Just have fun with it. So who's going to be my brave volunteer? It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to reveal private information or personal information. It's just to make a point.
I think Corey has volunteered, Shubha.
Excellent. And someone's waiting to be admitted. Okay, I'm going to let them in. All right, great. All right, Corey. So what is your what? Could you please share with us?
I want to start a blog.
A blog. And why is that?
There are two reasons why. I want to be financially stable, and I want to help people gain the confidence that I did in Toastmasters, for example.
Wow, excellent. Oh my God. You've really thought about this. Good for you. So what we're going to do now is put that aside and take it up as part of exercise 1B. After I have explained to you what a strong why entails. But before we get there, let us give him a big hand, folks, for participating and volunteering, Corey. Thank you so much. All right. Okay, good. I'm just looking at the chats to see if you have a message for me. All right, great. A why is really an instruction to your brain to release neural fuel that gives us that energy to make the effort. Now, to have enough neural fuel to help us through the pursuit, however, we need a very strong why, for which it needs to meet three conditions. The 3 A's: awareness, attention, and arousal. Now, the greater the awareness, greater is the attention, and therefore greater is the arousal of neural fuel that will compel you into action. So let me just repeat that a little differently. The more aware you are of something, the more attention you're likely to pay to it, and therefore the more engaged you're going to feel. It means you're going to be more aroused. So therefore, greater the awareness, greater is the attention, and therefore greater is the arousal of neural fuel. Let's take a closer look. Awareness of what? Awareness of the need that you're trying to fulfill, whether it's your self-worth or happiness or health, whatever might be your need. First, identify that. And then to fully understand its importance to your life, try and understand what would happen if you were to fulfill that need, and what would happen if you were to not fulfill that need in tangible terms. Attention to the emotion. What might you feel in terms of emotion were you to actually fulfill that need? And what emotion might you feel if you were not to fulfill that need? Now, emotions are very important. They are the backbone of our experience in life. If you have happy emotions, you have a good quality of life and you're happy. So you have to really think about what emotion you might feel as an outcome to really fully understand its impact in your life. Only arousal is there. Arousal, are you feeling the emotion enough to feel arousal of raw feelings in your body? Examples are agitation, nervousness, impatience. These are raw feelings, visceral experiences that you feel that are proof positive that you have neural fuel in your system working for you. And if you're not feeling that arousal, you do not have a strong why. Your why is weak. And it doesn't matter whether the fuel is positive or negative. It's still energy. It is up to you how you use it. For some people, negative works better than positive. For the same people, depending on the situation, one could work better than the other. So it's good to know what you have in your arsenal to use when you need to use it. So let's go through my example. I want to quit binging on junk food. Why? Because it is bad for my health. Well, not a bad why you would say, but if I were to tell you only 1 out of 9 people who have pulmonary bypass surgery will actually make a change in their lifestyle, despite knowing it's a life and death matter. So you can't really trust this why, can you? So let's make it strong. What need am I trying to satisfy? Good health. What would be the result if I did fulfill it? I could live a vibrant life. And not fulfilling it, I could be left with unfulfilled dreams and regrets. My emotion, if I were to fulfill, of course, the idea of having a vibrant life makes me feel happy and joyful. And I'm not fulfilling, I do feel regretful and a sense of depression. The feelings that I might arouse on fulfilling, just the thought of it, contemplating that makes me feel excited. Fulfilling dreams is an exciting thing, right? And not fulfilling, I feel a sense of agitation and anxiety. I don't want to be looking back at my life with regrets. So now I've come up with a why statement, which is 2 parts. What if I would, and what if I would not? So I get the first part by combining the ones in all the 3 sections, and the second part by combining all the 2s in the 3 sections. And this is what I've come up with. I want to quit binging on junk food because I want to be healthy. If I quit, I can enjoy a vibrant and fulfilling life, which makes me feel excited. If I don't quit, I could be living a life of unfulfilled dreams. I could look back with regret and feel depressed, which makes me feel anxious and agitated. See how much more information I have at my disposal were I to ever lose my path. So now let's work with our volunteer. All right, Corey. The purpose of this exercise is, of course, to demonstrate how to create a strong why. And the process we're going to follow is that the facilitator, which is myself, will help our volunteer by following the steps I just followed to create a strong why. We're going to allocate 3 minutes to it, and Chris is going to indicate through the colors green, yellow, and red, respectively at 1, 2, and 3, as she's just demonstrating right now, at 1, 2, and 3 minutes. And the 3 minutes begin now. So Corey, what need are you trying to fulfill?
Primary need is financial security.
So security, excellent. Okay, and on fulfilling it, what would be the tangible result that you envision?
I don't need to be afraid anymore of the future.
Okay, so certainty in future, yes. And what would happen if were you not to fulfill? Okay.
I don't want to think of what would happen without it. everything that's comfortable in my life I would lose.
Okay, there's a big sense of loss. All right, so what emotion would you feel were you to fulfill that dream of yours?
Peace, happiness, and confidence.
All right, I hope, Corey, you're writing all that down. Because I will be asking you to make a wise statement, remember? Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And what would happen were you not to fulfill? What emotion might you feel?
Despair,
Okay.
and a loss of trust in myself.
Wow. Okay. So in terms of arousal of feelings, how does that make you feel if you're going to end up feeling the emotion that you just mentioned? In terms of fulfilling it first, please.
In terms of feelings,
Yes.
I think it would create a big sense of accomplishment.
But in terms of raw in your body, what would you think you would be feeling? Like excitement or anxiety or nervousness? What is the restlessness, the quality of the restlessness you might feel inside?
I don't quite understand.
Okay, so instances of feelings are restlessness. This is an experience you feel in the body without even defining what the emotion is. Whether it's joy, there's a restlessness in joy, there's a restlessness in despair. So there's a restlessness, right? So there's anxiety, there is impatience, there's eagerness. These are raw feelings. They're distinct from emotions. They're the backbone of emotions, but they are bodily experiences. So when you say, for instance, in fulfilling, what is the emotion you said you might have?
In fulfilling it, I didn't quite hear that.
Yes, in fulfilling it, yes.
I said peace, happiness, and confidence.
All right, so you would sense, as you experience what feeling? A sense of joy? Would that translate into just thinking about it, contemplating? Does that make you feel excited that yes, you could have a peaceful life?
I think there would be some excitement there. I think primarily it would be a sense of calmness, though.
Okay, that's very important as well. And what about not fulfilling? What happens when you contemplate the idea of ending up with despair in your life, as you said?
I think that would result in a lot of anxiety.
Anxiety, okay. Now, can we now create a why statement by combining the ones that you just mentioned, the responses to the ones in number one in the 3 sections, and then a counter statement saying, combining the information under item 2 in all the 3 sections. If I were to fulfill it, what would happen? If I were not to, what would happen? I can just take you back to my example. So here's the example I gave. Let me know when you're ready.
Okay. I want to start a blog because if I fulfill that, it will provide me with financial security.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't fulfill it, I would have to worry quite a bit about the future.
All right. So it seems to me you're more heavily leaning towards fuel, that is towards not fulfilling as opposed to fulfilling. You might want to consider both, okay? Think about it both, but that's okay. This is a start, and a why statement is something we keep working on and making it stronger because there is energy to be had on both sides. But that's excellent. You have now described your why more clearly. How do you feel about it now compared to your original why?
I didn't even manage to include everything that we talked about. I did write it down, but definitely all of this helps to make it stronger. It defines the problem a lot better. And by exploring both sides of the consequences, you create a push and a pull. That's a lot more motivation to move forward. Everything here makes sense.
Thank you so much. Yes, I did realize you did not pick on all the information, and that's why I noticed your sensitivity to point 2 as opposed to point 1. And that is something to take back and work on. This was just an experiment and a demonstration, and I'm happy to hear what you just said. And I wish you well. And everybody, please give him a big hand for being so forthcoming and such a good sport. Thank you, Corey.
Okay, now I understand.
Thank you so much. So how do you make your why strong? By making that connection between what you want and the underlying needs, emotions, and feelings. Because when you make that connection, your brain fires up for you to help you succeed. So here's your first lesson. You have a weak why. To succeed, master your power tool, your brain for success, by making it strong. Because if you don't, much like that hedge trimmer, it will work against you and you will give up. So as I promised, there's a 30-second timeout now so that we can let the lesson sink in. And Chris will let us know at the end of 30 seconds. Chris, just let me know verbally from this moment. Thank you.
Shubha, we're at 30 seconds.
Excellent. Now, warning number 2. A strong why is not enough. To succeed, you must add fun. Fun is an acronym for focus, urgency, and niceness. Now, do you remember your last New Year's resolution? And I don't mean the one you started some 3 months ago, but the one before that. Chances are, just as happens to a majority of them, you likely gave up and then you blamed yourself. I'm just not motivated enough. Well, the truth is a strong why is simply not enough. To succeed, you must constantly infuse focus, urgency, and niceness. Now, everybody likes to be a better version of themselves, right? I wanted to be too. Ever since I was 12 years old, I've been a very cranky person, quick to react if things did not go my way. My parents would often tell me, control yourself. I tried, but my crankiness followed me into my adulthood, creating a lot of friction, both at home and at work. At both places, I was told, control yourself. And sure enough, my crankiness proved very costly. I actually lost a couple of very close friends because of my crankiness. That really hurt. I needed to stop, and that was my strong why. Since controlling myself had not worked, I tried affirmations, only because I had heard that affirmations help rewire the brain. Now, an affirmation is a positive statement written with the end goal in mind in a way that expresses the end state you want as opposed to the end state you do not want. So let us say, for instance, you feel nervous while speaking in public, but would like to be like someone who's very confident. Your affirmation would not be, I'm not nervous while speaking in public, but rather, I am confident while speaking in public. So therefore, in the same vein, my affirmation was not that I'm not cranky, but rather, I'm at ease and confidence in every situation. I began with intense focus. I even opened a daily journal to note observations on my behavior. Each time I caught myself in the act, I would withdraw into myself and start making notes. I confess, it was tough initially, really tough. But each time I did catch myself, I would feel supercharged. I even began to give myself options for positive behaviors ahead of a negative situation, such as pause, take a deep breath, and affirm. By the end of week 2, I noticed I wasn't journaling as much anymore. My affirmations were few and far between, and my crankiness was beginning to overpower me again. What happened? Clearly, over time, I was losing interest. I pondered on my why again. My desire to be a better person and rid myself of this crankiness. That helped really reignite my sense of urgency. To intensify my focus again, I began to journal more deliberately and rigorously. And to make my effort feel nice and rewarding, I began to acknowledge every positive response I gave as opposed to a negative reaction as a win by patting myself on the back. By week 4, I began to feel that ease and confidence I was looking for. By constantly infusing focus, urgency, and niceness, I was beginning to succeed. And I know I was, because my husband said to me, you've become very tolerant. To succeed, all 3, focus, urgency, and niceness, are essential and well supported by science. The brain releases a cocktail of 3 neurochemicals, 1 for each. So when you begin something new, like learning a new skill, let us say playing the guitar, your focus becomes very intense and you start paying attention to everything that needs to be done to master that skill, right? So when I wanted to learn ease and confidence, I had to come up with an affirmation, practice it, make observations of my current behavior, find options for new behaviors, and so on. So focus, when it's intense, releases a neurochemical called acetylcholine that gives us that ability to process information so that we may analyze, plan, and execute. And while all of that is happening, you feel that sense of urgency, that alertness to act, right? Initially, I became such a keen observer of my behavior. I would be journaling so rigorously, and my affirmations were just all over the place in terms of the frequency. I kept repeating that. That's because initially, urgency releases a neurochemical called epinephrine that gives us that energy to stay alert in the moment. And also, we begin with such a sense of hope of a better tomorrow, right? What a nice feeling we begin with. I used to look forward to being that person of ease and confidence no matter what. That feeling of niceness comes from another neurochemical called dopamine that helps us stay motivated. Now we do begin with all the 3 essentials. Then why then do we get distracted? Now we're going to do another little exercise. The idea is to become aware of things that can distract us from our pursuits. Things will happen. And we need to understand what some of these things might be. So the question to you are, what are some of the reasons you may lose interest over time? Write your responses in the chat function, either to everyone, or if you wish to stay anonymous, just send them directly to Chris and she will read them out to you. We're going to allocate 30 seconds now to this exercise, and Chris will communicate at the end of those 30 seconds when the time is up. So your 30 seconds begin now.
Time is up.
Thank you, Chris. Chris, could you please read out the responses? And if you can avoid repeating, just pick on the unique responses, that would really help.
All right. No immediate gain, delayed gratification, making fear a habit can cause loss of interest over time. Time again, busy, tiredness, work being overwhelmed, other priorities, not seeing progress, obligations, lack of visible success, getting tired, feels endless, failure to make time.
Yeah, and yes, I hear that. So I hear that you may be distracted because, well, It's just not gratifying enough anymore. Other priorities, competing priorities, and generally there will be in life competing priorities. But the question to you is it even on your priority list? Because if it's not on your priority list, it means you do not have a strong why. Because remember, strong why means neural fuel. And if you have the neural fuel in you, it is going to keep egging at you so that you make time for it, albeit however little, and just keep taking that one step forward. Because if it's not on your priority list for any reason, then probably you're not in the game. Now, in terms of tiredness, that could be a different issue, and that is something that you need to consider in terms of overdoing certain physical activities. That has a different dynamics. But if it is lack of motivation on your part or any of these three drivers of pursuits, well, yes, then you need to reconsider. But absolutely, life will get on the way, but assuming for now that it's still on your priority list. We do need all three. And we do begin with all three. Then why then, over time, do we lose interest and give up? That's because we get so absorbed in the doing that we forget our why, our source of motivation. As a result, that niceness chemical dopamine starts to drop. And that's when you feel that your efforts are not rewarding. It seems pointless. In the absence of that niceness chemical, the urgency chemical rises unchecked and reaches a level that's too high for us and not good. And that's when we feel stressed out. To protect us, our brain cuts off voluntary control over our motor functions, which are your actions. That's when you say to yourself, oh, I'm just not motivated enough. And you are correct. You need to generate that niceness chemical. How? By acknowledging every effort, big or small, as a win, as a step in the right direction, by patting yourself on the back. Why? Because as the niceness chemical rises, it pushes down the urgency chemical and gives you that positive buffer to help you stay motivated. This is key. Therefore, you need to ensure that you're working on all the three chemicals and self-generating. They're all able to be self-generated. I ensured all three. By constantly infusing focus, urgency, and niceness, I went from crankiness to ease and confidence. That is the power of FUN. So focus, urgency, and niceness are the three drivers of pursuit with a concomitant neural fuel that enable us to engage in these behaviors. So we're now going to do another exercise. I draw your attention to your handout section 2. The purpose is to learn to generate that neural fuel that you need. The difference is that you're likely already doing it, but doing it reflexively, not really understanding what's going on inside your brain and body. So as a result of this information, you're going to actually now start to do it more consciously. There are three questions to you, one for each driver of pursuit. Same as last exercise, just write your responses in the chat function, either to everyone or to just Chris, if you wish to stay anonymous, and she will read them back to us. We will allocate 30 seconds to each question, and Chris will communicate at the end of the 30 seconds when they're over, and the questions will come up as we go through the drivers. The focus is our first. What exactly is focus? It really is paying attention to everything that needs to be done. Researching the information, sifting through it, making decisions, plans, and what have you. We begin with that, and yet we lose focus. So what can we do to step up focus? You have 30 seconds to complete that in. Your 30 seconds begin now.
Time is up.
Thank you, Chris. Could you please read out the unique responses?
Yes, focus, have an accountability person or group, to-do list, schedule time, identify why it really matters, dedicate time, weekly schedule, learn and train. Don't focus on the whole task, break it down, revisit and focus.
Wow, such great answers. My God, my neural fuel is just racing through my brain right now. Exactly, when you have your game plan written down, you have a document, and should you just get off the path, you got a roadmap so that you can come back. So make sure you write this down. What about urgency? Now, urgency is that state of alertness so that we can focus, because without that, we can't. And this is often in terms of the agitation you might feel, or let's call it restlessness. That is the realm within which drive resides. But we so often find that drive diminishes. So how would you step up urgency for that to happen? Your 30 seconds begin now. Please write your responses in the chat function.
Time is up.
Thank you, Chris. Could you please read out the responses?
Absolutely. And it looks like time and setting deadlines is really a key one. We've got set timelines, set a deadline, create deadlines, make your why stronger, take 30 seconds to look at how you'd feel, set realistic targets, look at the worst case scenario, compare needs versus wants.
Wow. Thank you, Chris. Wow, I can feel the urgency as you write those responses, and I listen to them. Yes, attend to your why statement. Remember how I walked through the whole exercise of understanding needs, emotions, and feelings? Those in that document are your sources of neural fuel, whether it's the outcome to your family, to yourself, what emotion you might feel. That document has it all. Should you forget, just revisit that document. Now, what about niceness? Now, niceness is about feeling good and staying motivated. Now, a word about dopamine, that niceness chemical. Dopamine is really nature's reward system to help you stay motivated. So each time you do something that nature wants you to do, which is survival. So every effort that you make to survive, she gives you a little squirt of dopamine so that you feel good and you keep moving forward. So here's the thing to remember. It is never about the destination. It is about the journey. Because, once you reach your destination, your goal, how long does the happiness last? Not a whole lot. Why? Because Mother Nature withdraws the dopamine from you because you no longer need it. So go find yourself another pursuit if you are hungering for that kick that you get because of dopamine. So how might you step up niceness or motivation? Your 30 seconds begin now. I'm seeing some of the responses myself, and I'm so excited. You're so on the money here.
Time is up.
Thank you, Chris. Could you please read the responses back to us?
Absolutely. Having milestones of success, celebrate small wins, short-term rewards. We've got a really common theme here. Send myself a virtual sticker. What a cool idea. Taking time to enjoy the results of partly completing progress, what happens at the end, reward with each win. Make yourself accountable to others.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Yes, so someone said, have milestones. Do it in small steps. Reward yourself. My God, you're so much on the money. So here are the 3 key points. Let's take a look at them. Break down into small chunks. Why? Because you make sure that you have that positive buffer. Because if you go too high, the urgency chemical is just going to shoot to the roof and your reward system isn't going to catch up. So you have to be consciously creating that feeling of niceness by motivating yourself through reward systems. Secondly, acknowledge each step as a win by having little milestones along the way, because once you get to your major milestone, the game is up. So make sure you enjoy the journey. And finally, rewards must be intrinsic so that you associate the dopamine squirt, the niceness that you feel, with the effort that you make. If you were to pursue extrinsic rewards to make you feel good, you will find your dopamine system now begins to attach itself to external things and not your effort. And that's not what you want to do. So examples of intrinsic rewards are a happy dance, just tracking your progress by putting a tick mark on your checklist. See, when you feel tired, that's because your urgency chemical overshot your niceness chemical. So you got to pace it to make sure it works with your system as well. We often overdo tricks on our body by just overdoing. And we get too absorbed, we forget our why. So here's your lesson 2. A strong why is not enough. To succeed, master your power tool for success by constantly adding fun. Because if you don't, Mother Nature's perfect power tool, your brain, will work against you and you will give up. So let's dive out for another 30 seconds before we move on to our third and final lesson.
Time is up.
Thank you. So here's a third and final lesson. Even if you add fun, your mind is still going to fight you. To succeed, make sure you keep good company. Now, when you first came to Toastmasters, do you remember how you felt? You saw these experienced speakers speaking and you thought to yourself, oh, this is too hard. I'm not good enough. I think I made a mistake. And then you procrastinated on signing up for your speeches and roles. That was just your mind trying to fight you, okay? Why? Because your brain is so entangled in old thoughts, it will keep trying to pull you back. So when you start something new, to succeed, make sure you keep good company, because your mind is going to fight you. Your brain is going to fight you, because in that change process, you are actually trying to suppress old circuits and they fight back. There's an actual physical experience and you experience them as your thought. And you think that's you? No, that's your brain talking. So make sure you keep good company and they will help you change your thoughts. So for instance, when you spoke to other experienced Toastmasters or even your mentor, they reassured you and that felt better, didn't it? All right, so David Goggins is known to be the toughest man alive. He's the Guinness World Record holder of ultra endurance. He's had remarkable success as an ultra marathon runner. In 2008, he was named the hero of running by the Runner's World magazine. See how great he looks. What you don't see is the mental and physical torture at the hands of a very abusive father. He was so badly beaten as a child, he was left scarred. As a result, he developed learning disabilities, social anxieties, and fears. That story is very hard to connect with the toughest man alive. What happened? See, every time Goggins' mind was overcome with negative thoughts, which happened often, he took inspiration from Sylvester Stallone's movie Rocky by watching it over and over and over. Round 14. Stallone's why, stand up to life, became Goggins' why. From a very scared child to the toughest man alive. That is the power of good company. So now another little exercise, section 3 in the handout has 2 questions. The idea is to understand how good company can help you stay on track. And unmute yourself now, we will discuss in gallery view. 2 questions to you are, why do you need good company? And what are some examples of good company? We will allocate 5 minutes to it, and Chris will indicate through color cues, green, yellow, and red at 3, 4, and 5 minutes respectively. The time begins now. Chris, could you please put us in gallery view and let's discuss this? Just raise your hand if you want to speak, and Chris will identify you, or I believe there's a function at the bottom on a ribbon that says reactions, and you can raise your hand indicating through that little visual, and Chris will pick on that.
Definitely.
So
just a heads up, Shubha, we are at 10:35.
Yes, thank you so much, appreciate it. So why do you need good company? What does it do for you? Just raise your hand, would like to say something. Judy?
Motivation.
Motivation, okay.
Kenji?
Yeah.
Serves as a comparison point for yourself.
Okay, a benchmark.
Mm-hmm.
Heather?
Yes.
Support.
It provides accountability, somebody to hold you accountable.
Oh, good. Helps you stay on track.
Don't see any other hands right now.
Okay, so here's the deal. After the age of 25, your brain is not plastic anymore. Okay? With good reason. Imagine if you were to wake up every morning trying to relearn how to live your day. Imagine your kids are walking by past you and you look at them and say, exactly who are you and what are you doing in my house? I mean, how difficult would that make it for our survivability in our habitat, right? Therefore, it's important that the brain not be so pliable. But we are no longer in a world of surviving. Okay, we are in a world where we thrive. And for that, we need to really dig into our old habits, which are really old thoughts, and really make that effort for that change. And because the effort involved in pursuit can be so challenging that it can really create a big problem in terms of self-generating that neural fuel, especially initially and at critical junctures. Good company allows you that neural fuel by, first of all, being a personal good example, and at the same time, providing you the supply of positive thoughts that you are otherwise unable to feed from within. So good company really acts like a neural fuel supplement. You listen to a motivational video of 2 minutes, how it empowers you to keep moving on. Just this morning, I did that, and it works very well. So here are some examples of good company. Okay, well, actually, we haven't spoken about that. What are some good examples of good company? Who do you turn to? What do you do?
Family members.
Family members. Who else?
People that you aspire to be.
Oh, yes. Role models.
Online support groups.
Support groups, yes. Online now, that's even better. At your fingertips.
Mentors.
Mentors, yes. Anyone who supports your agenda. Who else might?
Like a close friend.
A close friend. Okay.
I think Judy had something to say as well.
Oh, I said exactly the same thing. We said it
Ah.
together. Close friend.
We all think alike, and that's good. We're all thinking alike, and it's amazing how alike we think. Okay, so if we have no more answers coming, I just want to say this, that anyone and anything that will support your agenda. So good company really helps us stay on track. And here are some examples. Books, heroes, role models, mentors, as someone said, podcasts, speeches, quotes. Anything and everything that supports your agenda is good company. Make sure you keep it. So here's your final lesson. Your mind will fight you even if you add FUN. To succeed, master your power tool, your way for success. And make sure you keep good company, because much like that hedge trimmer, your brain could work against you and you would give up. We all have dreams we want to fulfill, but unfortunately, most of us will give up. Why? Because it seems like too much effort. The reality is that unwittingly, we work against ourselves by not using our capabilities properly, the capabilities of the brain. And we give up, just like I gave up on that hedge trimmer. Had I taken the time to understand how it works, I could have created beautiful hedges and felt that power and independence that I really wanted. The brain too is a power tool, which if you learn to use properly, there is absolutely no reason why you would not succeed. So next time when you embark on something, do it with that sense of mastery and create beautiful outcomes for yourself. So I'm going to do a little recap for you here. First, you have a weak why. To succeed, make it strong. Stallone went from homeless to Hollywood superstar because he had a strong why. Stand up to life. What do you need to do to make your why strong that compels you into action? That's your first step. Second, a strong why is not enough. To succeed, add FUN. I went from crankiness to ease and confidence because I constantly infused focus, urgency, and niceness. How are you going to implement FUN in your life so that you're not distracted and you stay on track? And finally, your mind will fight you. Make sure you keep good company. Goggins went from a very scared child to the toughest man alive because he kept good company. He took inspiration from Sylvester Stallone. Doesn't matter if it's real or fictional, known or unknown to you, like Goggins did. So next time when you feel discouraged, what book are you going to read? Whose company are you going to seek? What podcast are you going to listen to? The brain is Mother Nature's most precious gift to you, which if we use properly, there's absolutely no reason why we would not succeed and release that greatness that lies within us. Well, I know we are sort of short of time, but if we can just steal a few questions quickly, let's do that. Let's do it right now. And Chris, you can let us know when it's time to close at 10:45, which is 1 minute. But in case somebody has a burning question, this is the time to ask.
Absolutely. We've got time for a couple of questions. The next event begins at 11, so we do have a tiny bit of wiggle room here. Do we have any quick questions for Shubha? Feel free to put them in the chat or to simply unmute yourself and speak up.
You can even send me questions through email if you wish.
Mm-hmm. It looks like we've covered everything. Either that or we've completely overwhelmed them.
Well, my idea was to really tickle you so that you investigate this topic more, because Mother Nature has really blessed us with something wonderful and amazing because she wants us to be great. All right, so I'm going to conclude by saying this. The heartbroken amongst you will be happy to know that Sylvester Stallone bought his dog back for $15,000. Good for him. But it took him some time to get there, just as it will take you some time to implement what you want to achieve as a result of what you heard today. Just be patient. and never lose sight of what you want. And with that, I would like to thank Chris Nelson, our sponsor today. She donated her Zoom account just so that this workshop could be possible. And more than that, behind the scenes, she has spent a lot of time with me to make sure this comes to fruition with success. Thank you so much, Chris. Back to you.
Thank you, Shubha. It has been a pleasure to be here today. I think we've all learned a lot. I know I have, and I've now heard this workshop 3 times, and I'm still learning. It's great to have all of you here with us today, and we'd love to know what you thought about this workshop. There is a link in the chat to the survey that will be emailed to you later on as well, but please go ahead and complete the brief survey. Let us know what you loved or what you might like to see a little bit differently. We're going to move to the George Keenan Award ceremony and the DTM ceremony very shortly. So if you go back to the conference page, you'll be able to link to those, and I will drop that link in the chat as well so you have it. And Shubha, thank you so much for sharing your wealth of knowledge and your obvious passion for this very important topic with us. I think we've all got some things that we can carry forward. Thank you for the time and the effort that you've put into making this something that's of value for all of us to take away.
Thank you.
And
Thanks,
have a
Shubha.
wonderful day.
Yes, have a wonderful day, and I hope I'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you for attending. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, Michelle.